Okay guys, I just finished making an awesome propeller car. Now this car can go faster than sound. Let's see, the G-spot, yes, and here. Okay, so this is the final outcome, I guess you could say, one of these two. You see they're very different, but very similar. And this is how I started off. Very simple. I did a lot of testing before I got to the final design, but this is what I started out with, just as a test. I had to add a back part because it would flip up, and yeah, I ended up adding more gears and figuring it all out. From the first one, I went on to one of these. I think it was this one before I went to the final one. So yeah, I try to make it stay straight. Doesn't seem, yeah, it does have the back tires. Now this one's pretty good, but I'd say that's probably Mark 1. Mark 2, this one. It's a pretty nice looking car. And I try to make it aerodynamic and whatnot. This one I went for looks, not aerodynamics. It does decent. Let's take it out for a test drive quick. Now this is like the humble beginnings. Okay, I see there's a bit of a problem there. I don't know what the problem on this car is. Shouldn't be flipping like that, but let's go and have a look at the next step. So then I went on to this one, maybe this one. Okay, so for this one I went with aerodynamics. Try to make it as aerodynamic as possible with keeping as many fins to make it straight. Even went and did the underneath to stop all the wind that was traveling under and through the gears. If you do see, you'd be able to see. It takes quite a while for it to get up. And there we go, you can see how the air goes over it. But one thing I didn't account for at this point was the weight. All this weight really slows you down. So let's go and have a look. Ooh, a lot slower than I thought it was. It looks like we barely break the sound barrier. Just past it. Pretty decent. And then when I did that, I figured that having less wheels actually makes you a little bit faster. So I took off some wheels and lightened the load a little bit. This was the test. Not too much difference, but look at that. Easily getting 3,170, I think. No, 50. No, it doesn't matter. And then we go on to when I redesigned the engines. So this is the best engine to gear ratio that I found. When doing the testing, I tried with 4 planetary gears, but that's just too fast, even without all of these. Even if you try and slow it down by putting this in reverse to add a 4th one, it's just too inefficient. So this is the best gear ratio I found. And then the best motors to power this are these, the electric and the top petrol motor. I tried all combinations of motors and this is what I came up with. Now 2 of these is too much power, or just having these makes too much power for this gear ratio, and these I actually found help slow the engine down quite a bit while adding horsepower. Now you need the extra horsepower, but you also need these to be a little bit slower. I did try with this motor, but it was still a little bit too fast. This was the best. One less motor and it will be too fast for the propellers to handle, and one more and it actually slows the engine down too much. On this side I show where it needs to connect. Now this can go sideways, down, left, however you want to connect it. Yeah, you need to connect the engine so it doesn't spin, so just put a pin there, nice and light, and something to hold the motors. And yeah, this is the basic of how you're going to set up your propellers so that they have the right distance and whatnot. But it's not going to connect directly to this. This is just an example, you know. So yeah, let me actually look up the name of this part, because it will be vital for later in the video. Forget it then. It's a hinge connector. When I say the white thing, I meant this hinge connector. So yeah, I also did experiments with a single version of this, try to send the power from just one set of motors into two separate things. Is this the fast one? Yeah, it's the fast one. Number 2 is the slow one. So yeah, I slowed it down to see what was happening. And yeah, you can see there's just too much torque. I tried adding planetary gears going in reverse on the top, or not in reverse, just adding extra planetary gears, thinking that's where the problem came. But no, it's actually the motors that are causing all the torque. I found out that the long and painful way. So yeah, you need 2 different sets of motors, otherwise your vehicle just flips. It looks like it still has the same power, like the perfect power, it's just the torque you have to deal with. Number 1, yeah, let's go see again. Otherwise, at one random moment when I was testing this, I actually did get up to like Mark 2 while flying and spinning in the air. So it was actually a decent engine, even on its own. And yeah, let's go and have a look at one of the cars with this motor. That's when I moved on to this vehicle. You can see I stripped it down. I removed a lot of weight, but kept it at its basic. There's the motor as you saw earlier, and everything else is the same. And with that little change, can you see that takeoff? We get a whole extra 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers or so. Now let's go to the sensor so we can do the speed trap test. Now I need to build up speed. So we'll go to the edge of the map. I don't want to get too close to the edge. If you teleport, your car can brake. Now, I forget which line I'm supposed to be on. Looks like the left one. I'll be here just for safety. That was close. Nice. 3,277. It's not my best score. I had found a way to make it slightly faster, but I forgot. I made a lot of changes, and yeah. So I was also trying to reduce weight, because it seemed like weight was my biggest issue. So I came to this twig of a car, and I found that having more propellers wasn't necessarily better. Let's get to the edge of the map. Okay, almost teleported. That was a close one. let's go. Don't know which one it was. I think stay here for safety. And yes, got it. Okay, now you see those extra propellers basically only got me an extra 20 kilometers per hour. So yeah, I had a lot of playing. Now this is the maximum length of propellers you can have. It is not an issue on how many propellers there are, it's more of an issue on how many parts there are on each individual little white thing that turns. I don't know what you call that. Yeah, you can only have a maximum amount of 16, maybe 17 parts before you can't add anymore. Yeah, but as you can see, it takes off like a rocket, faster than a rocket. I mean, these are breakneck speeds. Oop. And yeah, look at me go way faster than my previous record just because of teleportation. And yeah, I actually made a jet by accident. Look at me go, I'm going, what, 20,000 kilometers an hour. If only I could go to the speed trap, but I can't control it. If I look at me go faster and faster. Okay, I gotta get out before my game breaks. Yes, the game does crash after you get to like 40,000 kilometers an hour or something. And yeah, so that's all my propeller cars. And let me quickly show you what happens when you remove just one motor on each side. Okay, so remember I told you that these actually slow your vehicle down, or slow down the maximum RPM. So taking off just two, yeah, you see the propellers go mad, it starts to break, it doesn't stay straight. Usually when the gear ratio is too high, the propellers start to break and it touches the floor and makes you go crazy. Yeah, there's just nothing you can do except add those motors back. And if you add one extra motor, another motor to this, you'll actually slow yourself down. So this is the perfect amount of motors to gear ratio. Let's go and show you again that just putting those motors back, the car is suddenly controllable again. There we go. It's funny how adding motors can actually slow you down, but I needed that perfect ratio and it took me a few hours to get that. Okay, so I just want to show you guys quickly how this handles on the long straight. Now this is post audio recording. So yes, I took a lot of tries and cut it down to a quick 1-minute compilation. So you can see how it's not so easy to actually control, especially in the challenge world. I don't know what you'd call this world. In the testing world it works fine, but in this world it's a little buggy for some reason. So yeah, it took me quite a few attempts just to get one decent score. And as you can see, I just restart and restart and restart. And you'll see just now. There we go. And I got a total time of 1.96 seconds. But look at the top score, 0.1 seconds. I mean, what is that? That is not possible, you know? I cannot do that. It's using some kind of bug and I found that's unfair. Oh, let me show you this little dinky before we sign off. Look at this tiny little thing. And it's actually rather decent. I think you could win a race or two with just this. It's just a small petrol motor on 3 wheels. I tried to get it as close as possible. And yeah, it's pretty decent. And damage resistance apparently. I haven't actually played around with this too much. I have driven it around. But yeah, look at it go. I rode down the wall. And can go under extremely small gaps. Let me go the long way around. I think there is one size wheel smaller, so you could make it tiny bit smaller. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you could easily win the first 2 races or so with this thing. Anyway, let me know what I should make next, guys.